This is the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo. Brought to you by Advanced Rehab, Urgent Med 1, Boyd's Transmissions, Golf Cart Wholesale, Alan David Tucker, and by Marshside Grill. And now here's your host, Glynn Academy Insider, Drayton Hogarth.
Good evening and welcome to the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. This is Drayton Hogarth on location at Marshside Grill, where we will be each and every week on Sunday nights at 6:30 for the entire season. This segment of the Rocky Hidalgo Show is sponsored by Marshside Grill, Advanced Rehab, Urgent Med 1, Boyd's Transmissions, Golf Cart Wholesale, Alan David Tucker, and by ASP Pools. And now joining us, the head coach of the Glynn Academy Red Terrors, Rocky Hidalgo.
How we doing?
Hey, you're welcome, Coach. Well, unfortunately, Glynn Academy dropped their second ball game of the year to Coffee County, 22-0 on Friday. Just give us your brief thoughts on the game right now.
Hey, it's probably as ugly a football game as I've ever coached, to be honest with you. Really disappointed and frustrated. I don't think our preparation during the week was where it should have been. I think we spoke repeatedly with our kids about our focus. We just really weren't focused on Tuesday. I knew Tuesday we were gonna have some trouble with consistency on Friday night because we just didn't seem to be into practice. We had a long talk out after practice on Tuesday. Wednesday was a little better, and Thursday it was kind of all over the place. I'd hoped it was just because of the rain we practiced in, but I think it showed Friday. Mentally, we just weren't prepared to play, and that's my fault.
All right. Now, you guys seem to have some initial success moving the ball early on, the first couple of drives, for sure, but those drives ended up being thwarted by turnovers. Is that kind of your assessment as well?
Yeah, and really all night long, we did some good things on offense, but we had no consistency. When we went back, I think we ran 62 plays on offense, and of those 62 plays, we had 41 plays where we had execution errors, where kids did something wrong that negatively impacted the play. Sometimes, Garrison Hurd just broke a tackle and made a play, and then, sometimes we lost yardage. So it was, you have to limit your execution errors to about 12% of your plays to have a chance to beat a good football team, and we were a long way from that.
Right. That's attributable to the focus in practice leading into it.
For me, it's always about focus. It's about our practice. We practice well. I think we can play with anybody. For whatever reason, whatever we did that distracted our kids, or we didn't prepare them mentally to go out and practice the way they needed to practice. It had a big part in our game, and that's not to take anything away from Coffee. I think Coach Pruitt's team played really hard, and they played well, but I think if you go back and look at that game, we had, even as poorly as we played, we had a lot of opportunities in that game that we didn't take advantage of, and you can't do that against good teams.
Right. Now, is there any reason you feel like the preparedness or the preparing for the game, was any reason for that lack of focus, or just
I've been doing this for about 20 years, and at the end of the day, these guys are teenagers, and I don't know if it was half day Friday or the off week before or whatever those things were. I'm just to say this, I'm aggravated with myself. I think obviously I didn't do a very good job of getting our kids ready to play. That won't be the case this week. They better show up to practice on Monday ready to go.
I hear you. Anything you can do to get that focus back? Any specific practice regimen or anything like that?
I think getting the hell beat out of them will probably get their focus back, to be honest with you.
That'll do it. This is the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. How about the penalties? Really played a major factor in the outcome as well. It seemed like defensively you guys played well. Ended up giving up a lot of yardage on penalties alone. What was your, looking at the game film, what was your assessment of the penalty situation?
It was very stupid and selfish plays. I think it was, again, a product of our focus. We had 2 late hits on the quarterback that were completely unnecessary. A couple more late hits that were, it was just buffoonery at its highest level. Last year the Ware County game, we had 6 personal fouls, and it was very similar to that. We can't go and do something like that in a big game. It was disappointing. I think our kids played really hard. I don't think it was an effort issue Friday night. But two things you can control is effort and execution. Our effort was fine. Our execution was awful on both sides of the ball. We gave up touchdowns because we had guys tackled or stopped for losses in the background, and we didn't fit on the ball well, and guys reverse field on us and made big plays. We missed tackles on one touchdown drive. So there were a lot of things there that we did that at the end of the day just played a huge part in it. It wasn't one person. It wasn't just one thing. There were 100 opportunities in the game to go in there and make a play, and we missed on a ton of them.
Right. What happened on you had good success driving the ball initially, and then had that interception on the first drive inside the 5-yard line. What was the reason for the interception? Was it a misread or what?
Well, we went in and we ran a reverse pass. We hoped to catch them sleeping after a big play like that, and they did a great job. Their safety did a good job staying over the top, and we've got to have the wherewithal to throw that ball away and don't throw it in double coverage. They did a nice job with it. Just throw the ball away. We've got to learn that as we move forward. It's okay to throw a pass away or get rid of the ball and come back and play another down.
Mm-hmm. Just a part of the maturation process for Larson?
I hope so. It's one of those things that he's, we hope to see out of him as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, I saw that Ryan Johnston got a few snaps at quarterback. How would you assess his play in the later on?
I think that was really unfair for us to put Ryan in some ways because he wasn't warmed up, but I think he did a nice job. He looked very comfortable in the pocket. He distributed the ball around a little bit. I think probably not being warm, he overthrew a couple of balls. But overall, he did okay in there. He went in a tough situation. We wanted to take Ryan out and really just to catch his breath a little bit. Justin out, and to just give him a chance to catch his breath and just see what Ryan could do.
Right. And then the play DJ had made a nice catch and run, and then had a big hit. Fumbled the ball, just chalk that up to just a good football play by Coffee?
It was, but we've got to have good ball security. We have to squeeze the ball to our chest, and when we get in traffic, we got to cover it with the other hand. Those are fundamental things that we've been doing all year long that we didn't do Friday night. That's what's, more than anything, that's what's disappointing to me is because, defensively, we've run to the ball very well all year long. We've done a great job on the backside of the football, to make sure that guys didn't get out of tackles and reverse field us. We didn't do that Friday night. And again, I think it's the way we practice. Our mental preparation for the game was not particularly good. It showed throughout the week, and it really showed Friday night.
Right. Well, there's more to come on the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show on the Bishop Media Sports Network. Right now, these words from our sponsors.
Marshside Grill is your home for the best burgers, spuds, and seafood around. Come enjoy the view out by the water while taking in an ice-cold beverage. Marshside Grill is your home for the Glynn Academy Red Terror Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo and a proud sponsor of Glynn Academy and local high school athletics. So stop in any day or night of the week for the best view and atmosphere here in the Golden Isles. And also, check us out on Facebook. Go Terrors! That back won't stop aching or that knee won't stop throbbing? Your answer is Advanced Rehabilitation and their staff of professionals. Locations in Brunswick and on St. Simons for your convenience. Go to the place that is trusted by student athletes all over the Golden Isles as well as professional athletes. Advanced Rehabilitation specializes in neuro and orthopedics and will have you back in the game in no time. Find a clinic near you, physicaltherapygeorgia.com. Tired of waiting hours to get in and out of the ER or can't get in to see your doctor? The wait is over. Urgent Med 1 is a fully functioning urgent care clinic with highly trained professionals, on-site x-ray and labs that will get you in, out, and on with life. Open weekdays 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and weekends 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or sign in online with ZipPass. Located off exit 36B on Highway 341, look for that MASH Jeep with the big red cross out front, ERGENT Med 1. Drive a few minutes and save a few hours.
Welcome back to the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. This is Drayton Hogarth on location for Marshside Grill. This segment is brought to you by Marshside Grill, Urgent Med 1, Advanced Rehab, and Golf Cart Wholesale. Coach, we did mention the offense, having some struggles. However, Garrison Hurd did have another solid game at running the ball. Other than his ability to run inside, was there anything that Coffee was doing that we weren't anticipating coming into the game?
No, really, we got what we wanted out of Coffee. I just don't think we were able to convert. We did make some throws we needed to make, and we dropped some balls. I mean, really and truly, we got really what we expected to get out of them. There were a few times in games I think we dropped 8 passes, and what we do offensively, if you drop passes, it's a turnover. It's a turnover, kills the drive, kills the momentum of the offense. You can't do that. What we do and drop passes. So that's one of the things. Coffee's got a very good defensive football team, I think, but when we're going back and watching the film, we had a lot of opportunities on offense, and we just didn't take advantage of them.
Right. Tell me this: is this maybe the first game that you feel like your Glynn Academy team did not win the line of scrimmage that night in the game?
Well, I think what we did is defensively, I think we did a great job really up front on the defensive line. I think our kids played tough against some good backs. We gave up, really without some stupid penalties. And, the one play with the reverse field, our kids really played well defensively. On the offensive line, I think we did some good things on our left side, really did push their front around. We were able to run the football. We just had too many negative plays where we made mistakes in some of our decision making on our mesh point, where we should have handed the ball off, we should have pulled it. A couple other things is we've got a very young right side, 2 guys who are inexperienced right there. I think we had some issues there with some consistency on the right side. So we've got to get in there and coach those guys up. We spent a long day today working on it. We got to get out there and just coach those guys up and get them to be better.
Right. Defensively, seems like you guys really contained the speedster Demetrius Davis, except for the one long play that he had for a touchdown. But other than that, do you agree in that your defense contained him pretty well?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's when you have a kid like that, you've got to him up. We didn't do a good job on that play, and it was a play that we had a specific call when they lined up in that formation. We were going to send the wheel linebacker. We did it. It worked perfectly. We hit him in the backfield for probably a 5-yard loss, and we didn't finish through on the tackle, and we had a couple of guys pull up, so I'm wrapped up and kind of slowed up their play, and ended up costing us 6 points.
Right. Now, how about on special teams, the fake punts? There were 3 total in the game that played a big role in the game. The 2 for you guys with Glynn Academy, successful run, and then an incomplete pass. Was there anything that the coaches or yourself was seeing, a specific key from Coffee that led you to call those?
Well, we audible all of our punts, so we audible everything from the sideline based on how they align. So the first one really worked well. The kids executed well, and honestly, if we hadn't tripped, we may have scored on that one. The second one, that was one of those things we just, I'll say this. I kind of look back on that one. I think in the newspaper, I told the guy it was a dumb call on my part. I felt kind of going into the game, but we were going to have some plays like that to score because I didn't feel like our consistency was going to be there. And, so I felt a little pressure to do that. And honestly, it was there. The kid made a great play. If we push a little more to the sideline instead of up the field, we'd probably catch that and get 30 or 40 yards on it. It's just one of those things that, you can do this. If you can go back and look at decisions you make on play calling and all that stuff with things like fake punts and all those things. When they work out, you look like a genius. When they don't, you look like a moron. That one in the time of that one, probably a mistake on my part because we didn't get it. I don't really regret it because I feel like you have to be aggressive, especially in a game where you feel like as a coach you feel pressed to make plays. So it's just one of those things, and we were real close to getting. I mean, he touched that ball just a fingertip on it. He doesn't touch that football. It's a 40-yard gain. We have the ball deep in their territory with a minute left.
Right. You're listening to the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show on the Bishop Media Sports Network. Well, Coach, let's look ahead to this Friday, having to go up to Richmond Hill, taking on the Wildcats. The Cats are 2-1 and also 1-1 in the region after beating Bradwell, and they dropped one to Ware this past Friday. What can we look for from the Richmond Hill Wildcats of Matthew Lazat?
Well, I think Coach Lizotte, he's brought some energy to their program. They're excited about the direction that they're going. I think you'll see a very similar offense in a lot of ways to what Wayne County did last year. He coached at Wayne County, had a big influence on their offense. A lot of 3 wide receiver sets, 2 backs in the backfield. In a lot of ways, some of the similar things that we do. A lot of split zone, power counter, and throwing the quick game and pushing the ball vertical up the field. They've got really tall receivers. They like to throw the ball up to those guys and let them go up and get it against coverage. I mean, they've got some young, talented players on the defensive side, on the offensive side. Defensively, they did a lot of good things. I know they gave up 50 points versus Ware, but really played kind of toe-to-toe with them at times, just gave up big plays. They seem very well coached defensively. They align really well. Get lined up, run to the football. They're young in spots. I think that's probably been where they've had some issues and giving up some big plays and not being able to contain Ware County. But all in all, I think their kids are playing hard and they seem to enjoy the coach they're playing for.
Yeah, I was watching that score coming down to Richmond Hill Ware. It was pretty close until late. Kind of got away from them. Nikolai. Yeah, you mentioned Coach Lizotte was at Wayne County last year under Coach Crooms. Is there, you going to be able to go back and look at film from them and kind of compare it, and also this year for personnel issues?
Well, I think from what they're doing offensively, I think he had a big part of what they were doing at Wayne County last year. So I see a lot of similarities there. So some of those things we'll be able to look at what they did to us last year. And then he has different personnel over there at Richmond Hill. You kind of see some of that bleeding through. Defensively, it's a total defensive staff, so we'll have to and we didn't get really good defensive film on them because we've gotten 3 wing T teams, so there's not a whole bunch for us to look at. So we're kind of guessing offensively where they're getting lined up.
Right. Is there any particular players that stand out for Richmond Hill that you need to focus on?
Well, I think their wide receiving core is very talented. Their quarterbacks, they've got a couple of quarterbacks. One throws the ball really well. One's a very good athlete. He'll stick his foot in the ground and disappear. So I think those guys, their skill players are very good. They're young on the offensive line. Their kids play hard, but they've still got some growing up to do from when you look at the tape. So hopefully we can kind of get in there and dominate the line of scrimmage when they're on offense.
Right. How are the Red Terrors heading into the game health-wise?
It was a physical game Friday night. I'm sure our kids will be banged up, but this time of year, everybody's got some bumps and bruises. I expect, unless something happens between now and Friday, I expect all of our kids will be ready to play.
All right, sounds good. We will be right back to the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network.
Need an attorney who specializes in personal injury and criminal law? Alan David Tucker. He fights for the rights of the injured and accused. Located next to the waterfront at 9 St. Andrews Court. Since 1982, Alan David Tucker has been practicing law in the Golden Isles and helped thousands of people just like you solve their legal problems. Give Alan David Tucker a call. Proud supporter of Glynn Academy Athletics, 912-267-7123, and let's go Terrors. Looking to make your life more fun? Then check out GCW Karts. With top-of-the-line karts like Easy Go, Bad Boy, and Cushman, you can cruise the island or just around the neighborhood in style. Need to rent a kart? GCW Rental rents karts for long or short-term use, and they make it easy by delivering your kart to you and picking it up when you're finished. So remember, for brands like Easy Go, Bad Boy, and Cushman, visit GCW Karts in Brunswick at the corner of Cypress Mill Road and the Spur, or call 912-434-4601. You've walked your last mile. Boyd's Transmissions will get you riding with a smile. Boyd's Transmissions is your hometown stop for any and all transmission work and much more. Boyd's Transmission has been locally owned and operated for over 30 years right here in Glynn County. Come check us out at 3123 Norwich, right across from the National Guard Armory. 912-264-6768, or find us on Facebook and go Terrors. It's hot and keeping your pool running is essential right now. ASP is your hometown pool care and maintenance neighbors. Marcus and the professionals at ASP will have your pool looking and running like a dream to help you beat the heat. 912-230-5777 or online at www.stsimonsgapoolservice.com or find ASP on Facebook. ASP is a proud supporter of Glynn Academy Athletics. Let's go Terrors!
Welcome back to the Glynn Academy Red Terror Coaches Show with head coach Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. This is Drayton Hogarth on location at Marshside Grill. This segment is brought to you by Boyd's Transmissions, ASP Pools, and by Alan David Tucker. Coach, I know you always say that you like to focus on your team in preparation and practice and things like that. What do you feel like you need to work on this week to prepare to bring home a win this Friday?
Well, I think Friday night is a perfect example of why that's the case. At some point in time, I didn't do a very good job of focusing on our preparation, and it showed Friday night. Our kids, it just is what it is. We've gone through and we've said that we've stated those things. We've got to go and practice. We got to go to practice Monday. And we can't have horseplay in between plays. And when coaches are talking to people, we gotta listen to what they're saying and line their butt up and come off the ball and compete at practice. And because that's the only way they're going to get better. We didn't have that last week, and Friday we got our teeth kicked in. So and frankly, we got our teeth kicked in against a team that is not better than us. And that's the truth. That's what's most disappointing about it, is that now our backs are against the wall, and we didn't go out and perform well against a team that's really that really at the end of the day, they've got a good football team, but they're not any better than we are.
Right.
And it's a shame that that's the case. It's the reality that we have, and we got to go to work to make sure that we don't slip up again. And hopefully we've learned from this. And we're going to come to practice on Monday with our big boy hats on and grab our lunch pail and go to work.
Right. Do you foresee making any changes before the ball game Friday, lineup-wise or team-wise, anything like that? We will. We'll make some. I don't want to go into it on the air, but we've discussed. We have some positions that we haven't gotten the production that we really wanted to get out of, and so we're going to make some personnel changes and some scheme changes, we feel like, to give us some matchups here or there, and hopefully that'll pan out. Right. You kind of mentioned having backs against the wall in the region. Now that we're, 4 games roughly into the region, or schedule-wise, seems like all 4 spots in the region are still wide open. Are there any surprises to you in the region so far?
No, I haven't seen but a few of the teams, so I don't know. At the end of the day, I think Brunswick is, they have a very young team, a very talented team, but a very young team. So it's not wholly unexpected. It's hard to win at this level with a bunch of sophomores. So, for them they're competing with teams and falling short. That's not really surprising when you play a bunch of sophomores. If you're playing sophomores, that's usually what it takes. I was always told at the 6A level, for every sophomore you play, you count that as a loss. You can rack up a loss. So that's one thing. I think Effingham and South Effingham are very well coached. Their kids compete. I think Statesboro, I expect them to really improve over last year, and I think they've had a young team last year, changed offense. I think they'll continue to get better as the year goes on. Coach Pennington does a great job. It's not surprising that Ware County and Coffee are very good. Those programs have been good. They have very good coaches, and so it's playing out. And teams are going to go out there and compete for what's left. For us, this isn't fatal for us. We just have to go out and continue to improve. And we didn't do that from the Cannon week to the Coffee week. We took a step back.
All right. Yeah. Dropping this one doesn't give you any leeway, throughout the rest of the schedule. That was the team that you mentioned, Statesboro, was the one that surprised me the most so far, is coming out. I may be looking back at some older, thinking back to the teams of old, but seeing them at 0-3, I'm not sure if they won Friday or not, but I was a little surprised with that so far.
Yeah, and historically they've had a great football program, right? And they will again. Right. They will, and sometimes talent comes up, comes down, and I haven't seen them this year, so I can't say one way or the other. But Statesboro is not going to be down forever,
right?
So you better get them now.
Oh yeah. This is the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. Now, Coach, you played college football as well. What school and what position did you play in college?
I played at Rhodes College in Memphis. It's a little Division III school in downtown Memphis. I was an offensive guard, played there, started there 4 years as an offensive lineman.
Okay. Now, after school, how did you get into coaching and everything?
I actually coached a year at Rhodes. Initially, I wanted to get into college coaching. I had a couple opportunities. Lost out on a graduate assistant job at the University of Auburn, and was offered one at at SMU under Mike Caven, and by that time my wife and I had gotten married, and she was starting grad school in Atlanta, so we decided to just put down roots there. And then, at some point, I always knew I wanted to coach, and just kind of like the idea of being able to settle into a place and not have to worry about moving my family every 2 or 3 years, which is why I stayed with high school coaching.
Right. Was there a person or persons that really gave you that drive or desire, or was it always kind of
at the end of the day, my dad, when he ran the Little League football program in our hometown, and so I always was around it from the get-go. I was very fortunate that I was coached by great coaches, a guy by the name of Harold Butch Wax, who's in the Louisiana High School Hall of Fame. My college coach was a guy by the name of Mike Clary. When I played for him, he was number 2 in the NCAA in active winning percentage behind Bobby Bowden. And then I went to Walton High School and Marietta, where I coached under Ed Dudley, who's as good a coach as there is in this business. I was fortunate enough to coach a year with T. McFerrin. T's son Rob coached with us at Walton. T came over and helped us coach quarterbacks for a year, and got to know a lot of great coaches in Metro Atlanta. Dave Hunter being one of them. Tim McFarland at Roswell, won a state championship at Roswell. Bruce Cobley at Harrison, and go on and on. So I was very fortunate to kind of get with a lot of great coaches, and got to sit at the end of the table while better coaches than me were sitting around talking about coaching, and I just was smart enough to shut up and listen.
Great lineage you had for a foundation there. If someone was to come to you and ask you about getting into coaching, what would be maybe one thing that you could tell them about getting started?
Yeah.
As you chuckle.
I laugh. I love coaching. I think people, one things the young coaches, when they get in, and I was no different than this. Every young coach gets into coaching thinking they're ready to call an offense on Friday night, or call a defense on Friday night. I'm ready to do those things. I'd coached a year in college and came to Walton and found out I was about the 7th or 8th best coach on the staff. So, one of the things I would tell you is you can't, in this business, either you know what a good football team is supposed to look like, what a good football practice is supposed to look like, or you don't. And if you've never been with good football coaches, never been around good football coaches, it's hard to go to a practice and run a practice like a guy who's been with them. I was very fortunate that I spent a lot of time at Georgia Tech when George O'Leary was there with some of the best coaches in the business. Ted Roof and Glenn Spencer, Ralph Friedgen were there, and I got to watch probably the best football coaching staff in the business in college coach. And then on top of it, in Metro Atlanta, I went to a lot of high school practices when we were out of the playoffs or spring practice. And I coached with and played for a lot of great coaches.
Right.
So, that's the big thing is if you're getting in this business, find you a good staff to work with, go coach 9th grade ball, and watch how great coaches work, because there's a big difference between great coaches and guys who coach. There's a huge difference from that, and if you don't know the difference, you never will.
Right. All right, we appreciate it. Best of luck this Friday, Coach. Bring home a W back from Richmond Hill for Glynn Academy. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for the Glynn Academy Coaches Show with Rocky Hidalgo on the Bishop Media Sports Network. Come out to Marshside Grill and join us every Sunday night at 6:30 for the Rocky Hidalgo Show. This is Drayton Hogarth signing off.